division, he won the division last year essentially on defense. And I would say Dallas and Washington next year are favored to win the division. So his whole thing is, I can be patient here.
He definitely can be patient. Maybe they're waiting to see what's in next year's draft. They didn't want to mortgage too much of their future for what maybe they felt like was an unknowns where they were going to move up in the draft to be able to take someone. But here's the problem that I have with this plan. We talk about this all the time. Who's the best quarterback in your division, right? So we know Dak Prescott is coming back.
Dak.
He's going to be better. We know what their offense was when he was out there, so he's going to be back. Last year, Dak wasn't out there. Part of the reason why he won the division. Is Daniel Jones better than Ryan Fitzpatrick? I would say slightly yes. He's definitely more athletic.
Give me September, but I agree with you.
Okay.
Give me 5 more starts, but I agree with you.
Right now, let's say Daniel Jones is a little better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. So that means you have, assuming Ryan Fitzpatrick wins the job, you have the third best quarterback because we don't know what we have in Jalen Hurts yet. So you have the third best quarterback, the best defense in the division for sure.
Yes, no question.
I don't know that balances out to winning the division and making the playoffs.
I don't disagree. I think September is going to tell a lot about this division. But I guess my point is Ron is being patient because I do think he bought so much credibility with the owner, Dan Snyder's a lot of work, and the team that his whole thing is, I'm not going to rush. I'm not giving up 5 first-round picks in this rebuild. Because I do think Ron Rivera thinks this morning, I'm the best coach in this division. I got the best defense in this division. And by the way, they did upgrade offensively in some spots. So I thought they had a decent draft. So we'll see.
Well, Mac Jones is heading to the Patriots, but with Cam Newton also on the team, he won't be forced to start as a rookie. Steve Sarkisian was his offensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons at Alabama, and he thinks that Mac is capable of making an impact if he is called upon in year 1.
I honestly think he's probably the most qualified rookie quarterback to start in year 1. I think him being in school for 4 years and having to persevere and wait his turn behind a Jalen Hurts, behind a Tua, and then he got his opportunity. He made the most of it. The 1 year he started, we played an all-SEC schedule with Notre Dame and with Ohio State on top of that. So I think he's in a great position to go and compete.
The best thing I could argue Mac Jones' greatest qualification, and this is what you can't argue, he has 2 NFL coaches at Alabama. That's a huge advantage. Sark and Saban. So he ran a pro
generally, the quarterbacks who play at Alabama have that, though. And we haven't seen too much success from them. Well, at the very least, they always have Nick Saban.
I think Sark, and I believe this, I think Sark was the best coordinator in college football last year.
I agree, but in no way is Mac Jones more qualified to start right now than Trevor Lawrence, who has 36 starts, to Mac Jones' 17.
Right.
And I would also say Justin Fields is more qualified to start right now with 22 starts over Mac Jones' 17.
And by the way, qualified's an interesting word.
Right.
Because we've all worked with people whose resume, he went to Yale and she went to Princeton. They're qualified. And then you work with them and you're like, they have no common sense. They've been pampered. They don't know the real world. They never had a summer job. Qualified's an interesting. A lot of people qualify for stuff. Doesn't mean they're ready to win.
And I don't want to make it seem like we're piling on Mac Jones. I kind of am. I'm firmly in the I'm a doubter space with Mac Jones. Yeah. But also I would say I love that he went to the Patriots. Yes. I don't love him to start right away. And generally I do think that rookie quarterbacks should start right away, but this isn't the situation. Cam Newton is the starter. But you're also going to a very complicated offense as well. So I don't think we're going to see him this year. But out of all of these quarterbacks that were taken, the top 5 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence is clearly the most qualified to start right now, if we're using that word qualification. So Steph Curry continued his red-hot shooting last night in a big 123-108 win over the Pelicans. 8 threes, 41 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists. It was his league-leading 9th 40-point game this season and 6th in the last 15 games.
I feel like it's a wasted year without Klay Thompson. I mean, it's so great, but there's nothing to it. It's like, okay.
You know what? I felt that way, but the way that Steph Curry is playing, they are in the 8th seed right now. I disagree. I think that they're an organization that they took that year off with both of them being hurt, obviously. But this year they're back to it, and Steph Curry is leading the way. He's third in Fox Bet MVP odds right now, plus 1,800. And if I had a vote, I would give it to Steph Curry at this point. Without Steph Curry and the team, they've got to be the worst team in the West, and he's just been carrying them.
By the way, for all the Westbrook lovers, statistically, Golden State's in a playoff hunt.
Well, right. So his big statistical nights are leading to them winning.
Yes, right. That's right. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Klay Thompson's out. They have no real size. They're one of the smallest teams. Wiseman got hurt. Draymond's past his prime. Kelly Oubre's athletic, not much more. It's not a very good basketball team. It's Steph Curry and a bunch of nothing. I could say the same for Washington, but Washington won't make the playoffs in the East. And remember, everybody's always been Westbrook over Curry. It's like, it's remarkable they're actually in a playoff spot in the West.
That's what I'm saying. To me, he won't win the MVP because they're in the 8th seed, but... And I know you hate talking about NBA MVP, but if you want to look at what is actually valuable, Steph Curry, and he's averaging more points and more rebounds this year than he did in his unanimous MVP year.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Mark Schlereth does some Big J journalism, apparently. So Schlereth apparently said something last week, and we're going to bring Mark Schlereth on, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So I missed this story. I was not on Twitter all weekend, but apparently you were a big deal. So give me the story about, you said something about Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos, which, by the way, you just signed a new contract, radio in Denver, so you're a big deal there. We know that. And then all of a sudden, somebody that's important reached out to you. Like, let Uncle Colin in on the story. I missed it.
Well, listen, I had gotten some information from somebody that occasionally gives me information that has never been wrong. So he said, hey, man, this deal is pretty close to being done for the Rodgers to go to Denver. Obviously, things could fall through. Obviously, people get cold feet and it could not work. So I just went on my radio station covering the draft and said it. And then it just went, haywire on Twitter. Obviously, I'm not in the news breaking business, Colin. So, so I get excited because, I'm a Bronco fan, right? So I hear Aaron Rodgers may come to Denver. I'm excited. I'm on the radio. Then it explodes like wildfire. So then all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers direct messages me and goes, hey, dude, where are you hearing this? Where in Denver are you hearing this from? I go, it's not from Denver. It's from somebody else. And he's like, oh. And he said, as soon as I know, he goes, I'll let you know what's going on. So we shall see. Certainly it doesn't seem great for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay right now. And it's funny. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to Terry Bradshaw. Let me just tell you one thing right now about Aaron Rodgers. He is not concerned at all about drafting a quarterback. He understands that there's not a quarterback on the planet that can beat Aaron Rodgers out. He is that good. There's only about 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the National Football League that can cover warts, and he happens to be one of them. Everybody else exposes warts. He's one of the guys that covers warts. So it's not about that. To me, it's about, I want to win championships. We're the dynasty that never was. We've won one championship with Aaron Rodgers, who is arguably the greatest quarterback that's ever played. You could make that argument. He doesn't have the championships. Now, Terry Bradshaw has 4 championships, but they had the best defense on the planet in the steel curtain. They didn't move. There wasn't free agency. You didn't turn over your team 35